One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Have you been wanting to start a podcast? You've been thinking about it. It feels right. You just know this is the next thing that my business needs. Well, I encourage you to sign up for my 5-day podcast bootcamp. This is a thing that you have been looking for. It is a 5-day video series where I walk you through exactly how to start, launch, and market your podcast. And I throw in some more information about planning strategies and being consistent and how you can make the most out of your podcast from day one. So sign up for our 5-day Create Your Podcast Bootcamp at krystalprofit.com/podcast bootcamp. And do it already. You know that you've been wanting to, so just bite the bullet and join us. So today's episode is super special. I'm excited because I haven't done a ton of public speaking specifically about podcasting, but that's going to change. And I'm really excited about the things that are coming up in the next few months. But today is actually a recording from a public speaking opportunity that I had here in the Houston area that I cannot wait to share with you. It was such a fun experience for me, and I hope to do more of this in 2020. And I am just excited to share this with you. So let's dive right in. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Because if you've been thinking about creating a podcast for a while, well, I'm so glad you found this show. Think of this as the shortcut / time-saving version of searching Google and YouTube for hours and hours trying to figure out the world of podcasting. Trust me, as a busy mama of 3, I get it. You don't have a lot of time to be spent or wasted, I should say, searching the web, trying to find all the right ideas and all the amazing things that are out there, and you just end up overwhelmed. Trust me, I've been there, done that, took home the souvenir. But this podcast is going to help you in practical ways because twice a week we'll be delivering episodes that are going to give you steps to help you create a podcast your audience can't wait to listen to. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, so I've been promising for a while to talk about how you can grow an email list with a podcast. And today I'm finally bringing to you this amazing talk that we had at a recent event here in the Houston area. So if you are local to Houston, then you want to check out Pod Houston. My good friend Ozeal is the one that runs it, and he is actually the one that invited me to come speak to a group of podcasters, people that are either brand new and they want to learn more, or people that have been doing it for years and years. They all gathered around to chat about podcasting. So that is what I'm bringing to you today. So tune in to my talk about how to grow an email list with a podcast. Let's talk about that. Let's collaborate. What can we do for Pod Houston, the last meetup? And I'm like, well, email list is kind of like my jam. I like to talk about it because a lot of people don't understand it. I actually didn't understand it for a long time. I've been in the blogging world for several years. I'm not going to go into all of my background, but like a high level, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 5.5 years, and I got bored being a stay-at-home. You're not supposed to say that, right? It's supposed to be the dream job. Like, I get to stay at home. No, I got bored, and I thought I was going to be the next pioneer woman. That didn't work out. I learned how to cook a good pot roast, but anyway. So, but I found podcasting, and it has just really lit my heart on fire. So we're going to make this a little interactive because, you don't want me to stand up for talking anyway. But, so how many of you have kids or know a child under the age of 5? Okay, probably everybody. So do you know those free hug coupons? Like, this is a coupon for a free hug, and you're like, oh, that's so cute. I love this. This is great. That's kind of what your podcast is to your audience. It's you giving them something of value, and it has more value the more that they receive it, because you're like, oh man, I have 1,000 coupons for free hugs. Like, this is exciting. But with an email list, what I want you to think of is $5 Starbucks gift cards. And these are real, guys. And this is why I want this to be interactive, because I'm giving these away tonight, okay? So yeah, you just kind of perked up a little bit. Hang on, like, oh, I like some coffee, I like tea. Yeah, so we have these. But when you're creating things for your email list, I want your audience to get as excited as you do about, this isn't $5,000, guys, because then you'd be like, bum rushing me up here. But it's something that's of value, and it's something that they can consume pretty quickly. Like, unless you're like me and they get lost at the bottom of your purse and you're like, oh, I have a gift card that I've had for 6 months. Has this expired? But anyway, so I wanted to just kind of tease that because we're going to use this example throughout this training. And I was telling Ozeal, I was like, I'm probably going to make some people's head, like your head might hurt when you leave here. And that's kind of the point, because I want to give you a lot of information, but I want you to go to the Facebook group and ask questions. We can chat here, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm probably going to tell you, and it may make sense. It may click in a week from now, but I want you just to kind of let all of these ideas marinate. So you are in the right place if you've been thinking about starting a podcast. I know we kind of talked about if you have one, like, you don't even have to have a podcast going to start your email list. Like, this is so important to get this going as soon as possible. Or if you want to create a deeper connection with your audience. If you've been thinking about creating more free content for your audience, because that essentially is what you are creating with your email list, and you don't yet exactly know how to deliver more value to your audience, but you know it needs to be done. Like, you're in this online marketing space, maybe you're just getting started, and that's awesome. If you're just getting started and you learn this one principle about growing your email list, then, you are set. This is a foundational principle. So, and you're tired of creating online content and you've struggled to really get traction, having an email list will really help you. and you want to learn how a podcast can impact your business. I don't know if you have an online business, and we're going to talk to those of you who have no desire to turn your podcast into an online business. This is relevant for everybody that has a podcast. You want to create an online business one day. Maybe that's kind of in the back of your mind, but not something you're working on right now. Or you just love to talk. I mean, come on. Like that's what, even if you don't love to talk about everything, there's one specific thing that you love to talk about. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have a podcast. So what we're going to learn in this training, why an email list is important, how to set up an email list, the tactical things that you need to know. So there are some front end things. This is what your audience experiences. And then these are things like your freebie, which we'll talk about, setting up a landing page, crafting a thank you page, and then the back end logistics. So these are the top 3 are what your audience interacts with. But the back end stuff, there's stuff that happens behind the scenes that can't go unsaid because they're just as important as the other pieces of the puzzle. So we're going to talk about a nurture sequence and then how to use all this in your podcast. Like I said, it's a lot of information that's coming at you, but if you have any questions, hold them to the end if you can. I mean, I'm good with some interruptions, but I can kind of see eyes glazing over, like I can already see it. And you're probably saying, I don't know how to use all this technology, right? I'm just trying to figure out social media. I just figured out how to do an Insta story the other day, you know, like whatever it is. Like you're probably saying, I'm scared I'm gonna look dumb. Raise your hand if you have felt dumb in doing anything online, doing anything period. Everybody, come on, like I've got 2 hands up because y'all, we'll talk about that in a second, some of the mistakes that I've made. Or you're saying I already have so much on my to-do list, Krystal, I'm trying to just keep up with this podcast. I have 3 kids at home, okay? I have so many things going on. I get you when you say I'm busy. Like this sounds great in theory, but I got a lot of stuff going on. Well, I'm going to tell you why all of this is so important because I 100% get it. I totally understand because I've been there too. I've been afraid to, like here's the line, right? And you kind of just have to step over it. Well, I'm asking you to leap into this because it will make all the difference if you have a business or if you have, I have some cool things we'll talk about in a second. I'm not going to give that away yet, but some other things. So this is one of my first speaking engagement actually that I did. In 2017, I did it at a church and I was so nervous. I don't know if y'all have ever done public speaking, but you're just like, your stomach gets this weird knot thing and then you're like going up and you're like, something happened in my throat, I can't talk, like I need some water. Like this is, I had all those things and I was terrified to do this, but some really cool things happened after that because then I published my first book and this was this is actually the first day when I got like my copy back and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then I got on the news and I got to talk about it and you want to talk about being like bright lights coming in at you and you're like, okay, don't say anything stupid on camera, okay? I'm like, back to the, you don't want to feel dumb. Yeah, like I said, I've been there. And then this is actually my very first podcast interview. My microphone wasn't even plugged in, so yeah, like I could share stories like this all night, but we're not gonna do that because there's too much. And I wanna say, you do all these things, you get out of your comfort zone, you learn a little bit about email marketing and just doing things, period. Like you started a podcast and you've put it out into the world, like that, congratulations, because that is a huge feat in itself. A lot of people won't even do that because they're so consumed with fear of what other people are gonna think of them. So I applaud you for just wanting to podcast, but there's some pretty cool things that can happen. So Ozil and I were talking about this earlier, but I met Amy Porterfield, like I was in one of her meeting, or I'm part of a school that she does, a course, and this was a moment that was just so cool because she's one of my idols. If you don't know who she is, she's an online marketer. She is just like a digital course queen. She just does so many amazing things online and I was so nervous. Like talk about going back to like my stomach. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. I really want to do this, but I don't know if I can do this. But y'all, I got to meet her in person in Dallas this summer and this was just one of the highlights of my year. And it's all because I stepped out of my comfort zone and I started my podcast. And I started doing things that were a little bit scary to me, but I knew that I needed to do them. And this was really cool. I hit the top 100 in my category shortly after I rebranded my podcast, which was really cool because I just was kind of hoping, like, yeah, that'd be something cool, but getting in the top 100 for my category wasn't even really a thing on my radar until I saw that happen, and I was like, yay, this is super cool. So I just want to show you like some of the cool things that can happen once you step out of your comfort zone. So, are you ready? Are y'all ready? Okay, I'm just like trying to prime y'all and get you ready because we're gonna dive into some good stuff. So let's do this. And I love this. This says buckle up, buttercup, because we're going. Okay, so why is an email list important? If you're gonna take notes, I suggested that's encouraged, but I told Ozil I'm going to give him the slides so y'all can have this whole presentation afterwards. If you're in the Facebook group, though, this is another incentive. You gotta join the Facebook group.
Good job, Krystal.
Yes. But it gives you a list of qualified leads. So what exactly does that mean? Like, what are qualified leads? How can you use an email list that is full of qualified leads? So the first obvious one is to sell products. If you have a business, this is a great opportunity. Even if you have a brick and mortar business and you're starting a podcast, it's a great opportunity for you to sell your products or sell your merchandise. Like, there's so many ways that you can do it to sell something. It's also great for affiliate programs. If you are thinking about, if you have a product or a service that you absolutely love, there's a good chance in 2019 there's an affiliate program for it. And who is the biggest one that you can think of?
Amazon.
Yes. I was hoping just one person would. I had like 5 people. I was going to give away a gift card, but y'all got to try harder next time. So, but yeah, Amazon is it's one of the best places, and it's where I encourage everybody to get started if you're interested in affiliates. That's another way to use your email list. But this is where I want to talk to the people, really everybody, but especially the people that are saying, Krystal, I have no desire to have a business. I just want to talk, interact with my listeners, and have my podcast. But I did not live here when Harvey happened, okay? We have recently moved to the Houston area. I was not here. But could you imagine if you had a qualified email list and a natural disaster happened and you said, guys, we are rallying to raise money for the Red Cross to support these people that are displaced. We are going down to Home Depot and Lowe's. We're going to take stuff to a church. We are going to help them out. So it's not just about making money. It's about making a difference in some sort of way. So that is something else you can do with a qualified email list. And then, of course, have the audience independent of social media. If you're on any platform this year, you would have seen all the things that have happened. Do you remember when Instagram was down and thousands of people were freaking out? And it's funny because like it could happen in like this short amount of time, but everybody knows about it, and everybody's talking about, like, people are calling people, like, oh, you know, did you know our phones make phone calls? Like, that's what they're for. It's not just for social media. Like, everyone was freaking out. And so there was, like, it was so easy for me to just go find pictures because there were so many instances just this year of social media going down. What happened to my email list whenever social media goes down? Nothing happens. They're all still there. My entire website, you know, hopefully, like, I don't want to will anything. I don't want anything to happen to anybody's website or anybody's social media, but if something were to go down, you have your list. It is independent from all these platforms, even YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of these places where everyone is thinking about building a platform. They need to be foundationally built on your email list, because you don't want to build your audience solely on a platform you have zero control over. Okay, so that is all we got all that stuff out of the way. Now, we're going to talk about building it. This is where, if you do have questions, I actually already talked to Ozil. I'm going to use him. He's my guinea pig. So we're going to use him, but if y'all have questions during this, maybe you're saying, Krystal, that doesn't relate to what I talk about on my podcast or what I eventually want to talk about, then raise your hand and we can kind of talk through this, because I do want this to be interactive. But okay, setting up an email list. The first thing you have to do is create your freebie. You can read that, can't read that, but a freebie can be referred to as a lead magnet, an opt-in, a free resource, free download. There's so many different ways that people explain what a freebie is, but for this training, I'm just gonna say freebie, it makes it easier. So raise your hand if you can give me an example of a freebie. Yes?
I have an ebook.
An ebook. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, you get Okay, that's it. No more freebies. You gotta be quick for this, okay? So before we talk about freebies, I want you to answer the question, who is your ideal listener? Ozil, who is your ideal listener?
It would have to be somebody between the ages of 25 and 30, a creative,
Okay.
Somebody who listens to podcasts,
Okay.
consumes people like Gary Vaynerchuk and people who dig into that kind of Amy Porterfield crowd.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Listen to audiobooks, all that good stuff.
So I want you to think about who is your ideal listener. What are some of the things that they struggle with? Maybe you're like, I have an entertainment podcast. Like, my people don't struggle with anything. They struggle, their pain point is they're looking for a laugh. Maybe they have a terrible home life or something crazy. They're going through a divorce. They're going through something crazy. They just lost a loved one and they are just looking for someone to brighten their day. That is a pain point still. So this applies to every genre of podcast. What are your ideal listeners' pain points? What are some of their biggest fears? So what are some of your audience's biggest fears, would you say?
Failure.
Oh, that's a great one.
Starting.
Everyone can relate to that one. Or looking dumb, right? We saw that earlier, yeah. What is a problem that they need solved? So I love the example of a real estate agent. Do we have any real estate agents in here? No? Okay, so as a real estate agent, you have so many opportunities because people are buying a home. They are selling a home. They may be renting a home. There are so many opportunities for you to say, hey, I can solve your problem. I can give you a checklist of things that we can go through, or these are the questions that I get asked all the time. Like, it's almost annoying how much the same questions come up over and over again. So that is an opportunity to connect with an ideal listener. And then again, like I said, frequently asked questions. This can apply to everybody because I want you to go through your private messages, your emails, the things that people are constantly asking you in your family, at dinner parties, and they're just like, hey, I need help with this. Let me pick your brain about that. Frequently asked questions are something great for you to consider whenever you're thinking about your ideal listener. And where are they just saying, help, help, I need your help. So how can you help? Now, I'm going to put all of these up on the screen. Oh, by the way, like I said, I have 3 boys, so the Legos, it's very relatable. Very relatable, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning when you accidentally step on one. Yeah, that's not so much fun. And then, so if you want to jot these down, that's great, but these are some of the cool things that make great freebies. Checklists are the easiest thing to start with. So, for example, Ozil, let's go back to a frequently asked question. Do you have something in mind where you could say, here are the top 3 things that you need to do?
Top 5 online resources.
Okay,
to build
that's
an online
great.
business.
That's great. And that's simple. And again, going back to the $5 gift card, it's something of value, but it's also something that they can consume in a short amount of time. Because sometimes, I know this will vary from audience to audience, but my audience are mostly women that are busy juggling either a career, a family, they're just juggling multiple things. So they're just like, I just need help with this one problem. Can you help me solve this problem in a short amount of time? Then you have workbooks, which could be short PDFs, just like an ebook. When I say ebook, I consider that anything between, it could be 10 pages to 100 pages. So don't think of it as the next great American novel necessarily, right? It could just be something short. Quizzes. Who loves to take those quizzes where you're like, which Friends character am I? Which Disney princess would I be? Or what kind of rock? I've seen some really weird stuff. So I've seen some crazy quizzes. But people like to see that. They like to see themselves where it's like holding up a mirror and they're like, that is right. I am that kind of person. I am Phoebe from Friends. Come on, I'm a little quirky, a little weird, like, and I'm okay with it. Then you have videos and webinars, which YouTube makes so easy to do. If you enjoy video, I suggest you start here. If you hate video and that is why you're a podcaster, then don't start with that. Like that's a terrible idea. And don't just do it because Susie Q did it over here, because it's not gonna work for you if that's not what your audience, like your audience can feel whether you're being genuine or not.
Right.
And then frequently asked questions that are answered. So some examples, I just put some up here. These are some, like this is like a 5-page PDF. This is, I think, on 3 pages. This is 5 pages. Like all of these are just different examples of something that someone could sit down and digest very quickly. Then I have 500 podcast ideas. Okay, like this is my gifting, is to come up with ideas. So if you're sitting out here and you're like, oh, please come talk to me, because I bet I can come up with 20 ideas on the spot, because I came up with 500 and that took me like an hour to do that. So here's a video that I did. I think that you should just play to your strengths. You know yourself. You know that you could sit down and bang out an ebook in 20 minutes, or you know that you could sit down in front of a camera, record a 5-minute video that explains all of the frequently asked questions that you have. So play to your strengths and really connect with your audience and what's going to add value to them. But the title of your freebie is so important. And there's a few things that I'm going to talk about here in a second, but just know that how you label things and how you really get the attention of your audience is so important. And then give it a genuine shock and awe factor. That kind of just goes back to like 500. Like I've had people tell me, they're like, I went and grabbed that because I didn't believe that you had 500. And I'm like, no, there's over 500 there. So you want it to give it a genuine shock and awe factor. You don't want it to just be going back to like the free hug coupon, because everyone's getting that. You want it to be $5, the beautiful package, $5 gift card, because that is something that's like, hey, I'll give you my email for that. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about freebies?
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants. Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
No questions. Okay, we're going to keep going. So building a landing page. So what is the purpose of a landing page? Well, it's all about the value exchange. So how many people in here have a website for their podcast? Okay, got probably a little less than half of the room. So the podcast and the website don't necessarily, like, you don't have to have a website to make this work. And I'm going to show you some specific examples. But the idea behind a landing page is to have a place to house your freebie, and in exchange for the freebie, someone is giving you their email address. And they're saying, yes, I want to hear from you. Oh, Zeal, I love what you're saying. I want you to send me an email every time Pod Houston is doing something. Or Misty, I want you to tell me when that Spark conference is coming up, because I want to make sure I'm there. So you want to make sure that it is something of value that your audience is looking for, and something that can help them, because that email that you're getting, it is a value exchange. Okay, how to format your landing page. And this is where people's heads start to explode. So if that happens, then it's okay. We're going to get through this together, I promise. So name your freebie clearly. And I have an example up here. I don't know if everybody can see, everything that's here, it's not on this page, it's on the next one. But I want you to name your freebie clearly. So once you've created it, I want you to package it neatly too. So speak to those pain points. So back to your ideal listener. I want you to name it, not just like, hey, here's top 5 podcast tips. Like, be very specific on the problem that you're speaking to and how it could help them. Use those for your copy. Like, use those for how you're speaking to your audience, and make sure that it makes sense to them. Y'all, my audience, like, I don't want to call us dumb. We're not dumb. We're very simple. But whenever somebody starts talking in very academic speak, we're just kind of shut down. We just kind of like, we're smart people, but we like to just, kind of be very casual. Like, my audience we're not formal. I'm not going to stand up here. Like, I say y'all all the time in social media, in my emails, because that is how I speak. But if that is not you, if you are more of a formal person like an Amy Porterfield, she is very formal, she is very buttoned up, and that is how she speaks to her audience most of the time. So what problems do you solve? Again, that's the freebie. How can you help them? And call out specifically who your freebie is for. So I'm just going to keep picking on you, Ozil. Do you have a name, like is it an entrepreneur? Creative. You said creative. So maybe on your page, it's the top 5 resources for a creative that is struggling to get traction online.
That's a good one.
You need to get that. You need to write that down. Let's see. I told you we're going to build one while we're doing this. We're going to do this.
Good stuff.
But keep it simple. Keep it simple. Again, you don't want to like someone to look at it and think, oh, that sounds great in theory, but I got to run to go pick up the kids, and then we have soccer practice and everything. Like, you want to keep it super simple. That way if they don't have time to sit down and read it, they're like, I can't do this right now, but I'm going to come back because that sounds really good. That sounds like something that can really help me.
Hey, Krystal, you mentioned the pain point in the copy, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, I'll show you an example.
Yeah,
I got
like
an example for you.
Yeah.
So, and not too much text. So again, this is on a landing page that could be on your website, or it could be through your email service provider. This is something that we're going to I'm going to get into like specifics on the tools that I use and email service providers and everything like that. But just know that keep it simple, because no one likes a cluttered web page. This is 2019, okay? We're not living in the land of DOS and like just, oh my gosh, y'all. Yeah, right? Floppy disk? We're not there anymore. No. Okay, so can y'all see this? Can y'all see it okay? Do we turn off one of the lights? I don't even know. That's good? Okay, y'all can see it. Okay, we won't mess with it. So this says up here at the top, it says best resource for any podcaster. So I'm telling you right here at the top, this is for podcasters. If you land on this page and you're a YouTuber, you're going to say, that's probably not for me. Or if you're a blogger, you're going to self-identify, that's not for me. So that's what you want your audience to do. You want them to know immediately, oh, Zil, this is for creatives. This is the best resource for creatives. Write that down. Mm-hmm. And then it addresses their problem. So it says, never run out of ideas for your podcast. That is something that my audience tells me all the time. Krystal, I'm so scared. I'm going to give my best content in the first 10 episodes, and then I'm never going to have anything to talk about ever again. I hear it all the time. People are terrified of running out of podcast ideas. And I'm like, nope. Right here, you have a few years worth of content in this freebie right here. But I tell them, you're not going to run out of content. And then another thing is the title. So it's very important to make it clear. That way people know what they're getting. So if Ozil was doing like top 5 resources, he wouldn't just say, hey, here's the best resources, because then people are like, well, what is this? Like, what am I getting? You know, if I say top 500 or 500, they're like, it's probably going to be a spreadsheet, maybe a short ebook. The thank you page. So this is where we're going to kind of differentiate people that have websites and people that don't. So there are 2 ways to do this, again, with a website and without. So if you have a website, this is an opportunity for you to further the relationship with your audience. And I'm going to give you some examples of how you can do this. You can do this with a video. So if you were to go to my website and sign up for any of the freebies that I've mentioned, you're going to land on a thank you page that says, I'm so excited that you downloaded this resource, and while you're at it, why don't you go check out my podcast? Like, here's a link to it below this video. So if you're not thrilled about video, then this could be something just super simple, because whether you have a website or you don't, all of the email service providers, they're going to send you your audience to their website unless you tell them otherwise. So you want to make sure you're taking advantage of this. Is a crucial opportunity to deepen the connection, even if it's as simple as join our Facebook group or follow me on Instagram, or we have all cool, like a whole bunch of really cool things going on the YouTube channel. It's just another opportunity for you to get in front of your audience, or we have a cool event coming up. It's just a great opportunity for you to take advantage of that. Social media, your top resources. So Ozil talked about top resources for his audience. So maybe you list, hey, there's 5 resources, and then on the thank you page, you could have a video of the next Pod Houston, because the Pod Houston conference needs to happen as well. I'm just throwing it out there. We're willing it to the universe. It's going to happen. But it's an opportunity to say, hey, like, check your calendars. Like, something fun is coming up. Okay, so if you don't have a website, this is what I want you to do. You are limited in the message that you can show. So through an email service provider, they may only give you a little snippet of text that you can say, thanks for signing up. Maybe you can't even send them anywhere else. Like, you can't even reroute them to your Apple Podcast, the podcast page. But I want you to take advantage of this, even if it's just a simple message that says, hey, reply to this email and tell me what you want to learn from my podcast, or what I can help you with. What are your biggest pain points? If you don't know those things, this is a great time. If you're building your email list, you're building your audience, it's a great time to really get to know them. And it's an opportunity to build trust and authority. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the thank you page? Or thank yous, your email service provider? Okay, so we're gonna get into the welcome sequence. So what is a welcome sequence? Welcome, please come in. And I always say this with the podcast too, it's almost like you're a host. Like, you want to welcome them in with open arms, but you also want to tell them, I love you, get out of my house, it's time to leave, because you don't want to just cut them, I have a whole other thing about that. You don't just want to cut it off, you want to send them graciously out the door like a good host. But a welcome sequence is a sequence of emails that a new subscriber receives whenever they opt in for your freebie. So I know this is really where your eyes are going to glaze over. I probably lost you like 5 slides ago. It's okay. Just stick with me here. We can get through this, because this is the back end. This is not what your audience sees automatically. It's something that you create and then they experience at another time, or they could experience it immediately, and I'm going to show you. So it's 3 to 5 emails. It could deliver your freebie. It can introduce you and your podcast. Again, it's another way for you to have that touch point of creating a deeper connection with your audience. You could offer advice, give resources. You could have them. So if you opt into my email list, you go to the thank you page where it has the video, and then that triggers a welcome sequence to start. And in my very first email, I kind of just introduced myself. Hey, I'm Krystal. We moved to Houston, and I didn't know what I was doing. And then, I had started this podcast and did all this. It kind of gives the whole backstory. And then there's another email that says, because I talk to mostly entrepreneurs, so I tell them these are the top 5 podcasts that you should go listen to, because that's something I get asked all the time. What podcast do you like? So I think giving them great resources is great, or it's a way to deepen that connection. So why is this important? It gives you a way to further the relationship, because you don't want to be a one-hit wonder. So this is really important, because I do this as part of my marketing strategy. I opt into a lot of lists, because I'm like, oh, I want to see what she's doing. I want to see what he's doing. I want to see how this all works. And I can't even tell you how many times I've opted into something and I'm like, this wasn't very good. I'm just like, unsubscribe, see you later. And that's going to happen too. Within email marketing, it's going to happen, and that's okay, because you want to only attract the people that are going to be your ride or dies, right? The people that are going to be with you to show up to your events, listen to your podcast. So you want to be the go-to expert in what your podcast is about. You want to be the person that says, Ozil sent me those resources. I'm going to hit him up on Facebook and say, Ozil, you talked about doing Instagram. Like, I need some more tips. Like, can you give me some more information on that? Or, you know, I need to get my podcast started. How can you help me do this? Like, you want to be the first person that pops into your audience's mind whenever your topic comes up. So how does this all work, right? So the first email, if you're doing a 3 to 5 email sequence, so you're delivering your freebie as promised, right? You could do this actually on your thank you page if you wanted to. There are many ways to do this, but I just kind of wanted to give you a brief overview of how all the puzzle pieces fit together. Then you can have a welcome or an intro email that's like, hey, let's get to know, like, hi, I'm Krystal, I have the Profit Podcast, and this is how I got into this. And just kind of, you know, it doesn't have to be something long. Like, it's not rocket science, guys. And Ozil and I were actually talking about keeping it casual and in the voice that you normally speak in is the best way to go. If you try to sound like someone else, people are going to get turned off by that. Just show up and be you, the best way that you know how to be yourself. And then if you have a business or you work with clients, or this is a great opportunity to tell people stories of you helping someone else. Like, hey, you opted into this resource about being a creative who's struggling with this. Well, I've actually helped this person, and you can go see them now. Like, this is their testimony. This is how I've helped them become awesome. You know, whatever it is you want to say. And then the fourth one is resources or offering help. So this could be your fourth and your fifth. Like, I mean, honestly, this could go on forever and ever. But do y'all see, like I said, I talk about business. Do I say anywhere in here, this is where you sell. This is where you sell some more. And this is where you sell. Those are the people that I done out of my inbox, because you just want my money. You're not here to help me. Like, I am just a number on the scale for you. I am just like, oh yeah, there's more cash. Like, I can see it. It's like the writing on the wall. You want to be the person that is the go-to person for them. You want to be the person where they see it and they're like, oh, I can't wait to read Ozil's email because he's going to send me some more resources. He's going to tell me about those events going on. He's going to tell me about these other cool events that I should go to, because he's the person I trust. He took time to get to know my problems and to speak directly to me. And if I'm not, like, if Ozil's not for me, then I'll just unsubscribe. So it's okay. But it's okay. But you want to add value no matter what you do, because you want to get to the know, like, and trust factor with your audience, because this is going to impact how your podcast grows over time. Because you can use your email list to get more podcast downloads. You can send an email to them every time you put out a new episode, or every time you have something else going on. Again, going back to the qualified leads, you can do so much with an email list that trusts you. And I will say this, never ever abuse your email list, whatever you do, because that's something that you can't get back. I've been part of email lists that they go down the, or I'm not going to say that word, they go down, it's not good. So don't ever abuse your email list.
So I hope you enjoyed this chat about growing an email list with a podcast. If you have any questions, let me know. Like, hit me up on social media or reach out to me via email. If you're on my email list, just hit reply to anything that I send out. If you're not on the email list, this is a great opportunity to see how all of this works in action, because the things that I taught in this lesson today are exactly like what's the saying? I do what I preach, right? I talk the talk and I walk the walk, but I want to show you exactly how this works. And it's actually what I encourage a lot of my students and clients to do if they're wanting to learn how email lists work is just go join a bunch of email lists. Obviously, you want them to be ones that are interesting to you. I wouldn't just, join a bunch of lists that aren't relevant to what you're doing or to your industry or something that you're not excited about, because then you're just going to have a whole bunch of just junk coming in your email. But go to a few websites and see if you have an opportunity to join their email list. And this gives you an opportunity to see who's doing it well and where can they improve and how can you take some ideas and make them your own. So that's all I have for you today. So if this is the first time you're tuning in, I'd love for you to subscribe to the show and hear the other fun things that we have coming up. I have some awesome stuff planned over the next few weeks. There's a new segment I'm rolling out that I'm really excited to chat about. And you can check out the show notes for this episode at krystalprofit.com/episode 115. And make sure that you sign up for the free 5-day podcast bootcamp. This is actually one of the best places to see how email lists work in action. You will see the full process and everything that goes along with it. And that's at krystalprofit.com/podcast bootcamp. And remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.
Hey, Profit Podcast listeners, thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Krystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Krystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.